of my first Unity minister, Mike Matoyne, from Unity of Chicago. We're talking 25 years or more back now. And that was one of his favorite songs. He would sing it like all the time. So I just put that song and him together in the same energy.
Did they do it at church?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But he was known to be a radical in ministerial school. They didn't think he would graduate. And he would do Sunday service in like shorts and sneakers. So you can just imagine, if that was my first Unity minister, yeah, we didn't have air conditioning in the building that we were in. Muggy, hot, 100 degrees in the
This
summer.
was summertime, not winter.
Yeah, no. Well, knowing Mike, he was a big guy. He probably did wear shorts and, no. Anyway. We all have those songs that bring back wonderful memories. Thank you. It's a gift. It's a gift of auditory pleasure. This month we're talking all about gifts. We're talking about the various types of ways that we show love through the book study, The Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And so, as in every single week, I have given you all an assignment. Some of you are doing okay, some of you not so much. But you know what? You always get to try again. So, last week we talked about gifts, a physical, tangible gift, remember? And a gift is more than just a gift. It's energy embodied into a physical thing. And so, did any of you give a gift this week? Yes. Oh, heads are nodding. Good.
Yes.
What about you non-gift people? Did you give a gift? Did you receive a gift?
Yes.
Did you at least think about it? Because thought is the first part of giving a gift. And that's one of the ways that we fill people's love tank. Everyone, according to Gary Chapman, has a way that they give and receive love most effectively. And as we move on through this book series, we are exploring how we can be more responsible for letting people that we do love know that they are loved, that they are appreciated, so that we can learn to talk their love language. And by taking responsibility for our giving love, we are blessed first. Wouldn't you think?
Yes.
Yes. And so my prayer is that all of us have improved relationships by recognizing our own love language and how we give and receive love, and more importantly, how those in our lives give and receive love. Chapman says that when our love tank is kept full, especially by our partners, but the people in close relationship to us, we are filling their love tank. Our lives are better. They're just energetically more awake, alive, and enthusiastic. And when our love tank is not getting filled or refreshed in any way, the day seems a little cloudy. It's gray, it's boring. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So last week we explored receiving gifts. It is a symbol of a thought. Without gifts as symbols, some people don't believe that they're loved at all. Others may doubt your love. When I was working with the kids at camp and teaching these same concepts, I would take my coffee mug. You've all seen me walk around here with my teacup all the time. I would take my coffee mug and say, "Here, I love you." And they're just like, "I don't want a tea mug. What do you want?" "I want a hug." "Okay, fine. I want words of affirmation." You're magnificent. So once we learn to give and receive love in a way that people receive and want to receive, everyone is uplifted. So last week it was about receiving gifts, and before that we talked about quality time. Quality time is when we give someone our unfocused attention. Kim called me out in the office on this one the other day because I come in to work with her and answer her questions and to support her in her administrative tasks of running this church. And then we talking about something. I'm like, oh, I should send an email, not write it down to do later. Do it right now. Be more efficient. Well, then, of course, my phone rings. And it's one of those 5 people that you just have to take the call because you're supporting them through, and they were in need of quality time. And so here I got on the phone to give this other individual some quality time. And what does she do? She goes, quality time. Because I took her quality time away to give it to someone else. And she recognized it right away. I was busted big time. Wasn't I?
Yes.
Yes. And so I took away that undivided attention to give it to someone else.
You divided it.
I did, well, not very well, according to
No, she
him.
didn't divide it.
And not even words of affirmation could make it up to her. That was the love language that we talked about the first week of this 5-week study. When we look for the good of what's happening and express it, when we give a compliment and we empower through words of encouragement, we are able to fill someone's love tank. Today's love language is acts of service. One very simple way to recognize acts of service would be the love language of, acts of service. One way to recognize that is through the act of parenting. Holy cow. From the time parents decide to become parents or are surprised into this new way of being, because that's more than half the time, there is much to do in setting up a nursery and creating a sacred space for this little soul to grow up, to be spiritually nurtured, to be cared for and loved, to be kept safe. And they collect massive amounts of stuff, don't they? Oh my goodness. So even if you're not a parent yourself, you're aware of the level of attention that needs to be put into acts of service in relation to raising a child. For one, there's those smelly diapers and formulas, nutritious meals, emergency visits to the hospital, and of course a school field trip that you could care less about, but you're there because you're in service to your child. Other individuals that you will easily recognize that live acts of service are Mother Teresa and Jesus. Mother Teresa, that name itself, when spoken in any context, signifies life of service to many people by how she showed up to be of service in the world. During this time of Lent and coming into the Easter season, an act that Jesus did was the Maundy Thursday celebration where Jesus washed the feet of the disciples. That was a powerful act of service that he did to represent his level of 50-50 leadership and service at the same time. It's from John chapter 13, verses 1 through 17. So let me tell you the story. It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave the world and to go to his Father. The evening meal was in progress, and Simon Iscariot and Judas had already set foot to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that all things were under the divine power and that he had come from God and was returning to God very soon. So he got up from his meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand." "No," Peter said, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part of me." Then Lord Simon Peter replied, "Not just my feet, my hands and my head too." Jesus answered, "Those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. You are clean, though not every one of you." For he was referring to those who were about to betray him. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his outer clothes and returned to his place. And he said to his disciples, "Do you understand what I have done for you? You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash one another's. I have set for you an example that you should do as I have done. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." So the key words in this story is no. Why can I not find it now? This is the beautiful thing about highlighters. No servant is greater than his master. No servant is greater than his master. You and I and God and Jesus and Mother Teresa are all one. Each of us have within us the divine spark. We talk about this. It's unity principle number 2. We have our Christ presence within. All of it is the same. Jesus said that no matter what you do, it will bless the one. You are able to do more than what you see and think you can. These things and greater works shall ye do. So as Jesus displayed, true greatness is in expressing service. Acts of service freely given is a true expression of emotional love. Wouldn't you say? Here at Unity Fresno, acts of service is like a way of being, because in a congregation this size, we all step up together. This entire operation is run by volunteers. And you may say, "Well, no, wait a minute, Reverend Joe, you're paid." Yes, that's true. I am paid part-time, and yet I serve on a full-time capacity. And so therefore, half of my service is a volunteer. And so I give so freely as an act of love. And so in this way, all of us are serving freely. Members of our board not only serve as board members, but they are team leaders on multiple teams, most of them. And they assist in the many things that happen around here that are all responsibilities of the coordination of this community. In their gift of service, they give to others. In our announcements this week, I pointed out some new team leaders because we're rejuggling based on Rob and my to soon depart. And so each of you are rising up in a new level of service. And it is no lie when I say in a congregation this size, each and every one must support the community. It takes an entire community to raise a child. It takes an entire community to support a spiritual community, to bless one another, to support one another, to love each other, to fill your love tank. It's all of us together. So if your love language is acts of service, it'll be important to you to have opportunities to serve. It'll be important that you also are supported by one another. Our board of trustees is going to need all of your support. And by offering your assistance to them in whatever way you can, you are giving the love language of acts of service. In Scripture it says, faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. And so, I remember once before I told you to put faith on your toes, write it on your feet, and move your feet forward in service, in action. And so, as spring is here, we get to wear our flip-flops again, and we get to put faith on our toenails so we can see it and move forward in faith to do what is ours to do.
I remember that.
You
from
remember
last
that,
year.
yeah? There's a few that actually did it. I know. A quote from John Randolph Price. It says, "Come, faith, follow me. It is upon you that I will build my spiritual consciousness. I place my faith in the strength that I am. Come forth, strength. I call you into action." Faith and strength. Those are two of our 12 powers that we, as according to Charles Fillmore, are born with. They're in the body temple package that we arrived here with. So all you need to do is flip the switch, activate it, turn it on. If acts of service is not so much your thing, you might want to learn. Every one of these love languages that we've talked about, there's someone in your life who speaks this love language. And you know what? They've probably asked you to do something already. They probably asked you for support in some physical way. They could have asked you to dump the trash or take out, or to weed the garden or to wash the car. Or they've said, wouldn't it be nice if fill in the blank? You know how those acts of service people are. They just drop these hints about things that need to be done and things they would like to see happen. I see lots of laughter, especially in the couples. I have a honey-do list for this one over here.
Rob, you're not laughing, man.
It's a long list.
I'm reminiscing of a time gone by.
So when acts of service are your partner or someone in your household, their love language, and they give without being receiving in that same way, or at least another way, their love tank is not being filled. And guess what happens? Resentment, nagging. Think back to a time where they asked you to do something and you just never even responded. How did that go? Not too well, I'm sure. So it's important to recognize that it could be their love language to have acts of service completed or to give service to another. It's important also to know, here's the tricky part about acts of service, especially those of you who it's your love language and you've not been getting your love tank filled. When that frustration rises and you're tempted to nag, you know, remember that if it's not the other person's love language, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a struggle for them to step up and say, yeah, sure, I'll take out the garbage or, cut the grass, and then physically put their faith in action and do it. So remember that the mind, idea, expression process has to go through all three steps. Okay? So have some patience while your non-acts of service person is putting all of that into work. Mind, idea, expression. Okay? So it might take a little while. Be patient. So, and for those of you who are struggling to learn this new love language, it's important to know that this is not a hear and obey situation. We fall prey to that level of consciousness where, oh, I must do this to make them happy. That's not going to help you. When you give love through acts acts of service, you want to make sure that you're in the right energy space. Otherwise, you're going to feel manipulated and tricked into dumping the garbage and cutting the grass, washing the car. You're just going to be resentful back. It's not a win-win situation. Red flag, warning, okay? So in this level of give and take of love energy, you want to make sure that your heart is in the right space. So if you've been asked to do something and you really don't want to do it, just at least be responsible enough to say, it's not my thing. Maybe we can get someone to do that for you. We can hire someone to cut the grass on a regular basis. But at least acknowledge the request. If you don't acknowledge the request, then oh my goodness, it could be downright ugly. Thank you. I was almost lost for words, and that never happens to a minister. It's so unsettling. So when acts of service is your love language, be patient with those who it's not, and treat yourself to a spa day or a car wash, or hire someone to wash those windows, whatever it takes. You too have responsibility for getting your love tank filled, and so allow yourself that power and put the law of giving and receiving into work in the universe. In closing, I'd like to share with you a quote from Rabindranath Tagore. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. Namaste.